Today we will explore the scary and gloomy video of CJNG Cartel's horrifying murder of Ghost Rider, a well-known member of Carteles Unidos, also called the United Cartel. This group comprises Los Viagras and other smaller cartel organizations that have joined to fight against the infamous Los Zetas and later CJNG, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. The horrifying video. This video is a complete 1 minute and 30 seconds of sheer, sadistic brutality from start to finish. It involves individuals associated with the CJNG Cartel. As far as this video is concerned, in the absence of a more suitable term, we shall refer to the person subjected to punishment as Ghost Rider. This nickname wasn't just given casually. It was earned through a series of horrifying and merciless acts. Legend has it that Ghost Rider, as his name suggests, had a flair for burning the faces of his enemies. Nobody was safe from his wrath, especially those foolish enough to cross him. His brutal punishments became his signature, instilling fear in everyone. Interestingly, the inspiration for this chilling alias came from a movie called Ghost Rider, featuring Nicolas Cage. In the movie, there was a spectral character, a flaming skeleton riding a blazing motorcycle. It was almost as if the movie had conjured a real-life embodiment of this notorious cartel leader. The video starts with extreme violence. The scene shows Ghost Rider sitting on the ground covered in dirt. He is wearing black pants and a torn black t-shirt. His hands are tied behind him with either ropes or zip ties. The man is small, and if I had to guess, I'd say he's around 5 feet 6 inches tall. He looks thin and weak, probably because he has been beaten and starved for a few days. His face is bloody and dark red because he has serious third-degree burns all over it. In fact, parts of his face are on fire. The fire, focused on his forehead and hairline, has almost finished burning. It looks like his face was dipped in kerosene and set on fire. And this is just the beginning of the video. One person pulls his hair to keep his head still, while another holds his tied arms from behind to keep him steady for the camera. In the background, there is talking, and the victim is crying with a dry voice. His throat feels very dry and weak. As the video continues, the victim seems to go in and out of shock for a few seconds. The fire burns his face with him, making sounds as if he is dying. Out of nowhere, he suddenly feels a surge of energy and begins screaming in pain. His body shakes uncontrollably in every direction except for the people holding him. They ensure that he is securely restrained and sitting upright for the camera. The fire on his forehead burns for a few seconds and then goes out. Another person with a lighter appears and tries to relight the dying flame. It looks like a large part of the victim's face has been dipped in a flammable liquid like kerosene. In the middle of the video, the victim's hair is pulled back to show a close-up of his face. It's a horrifying sight. His face is red, wet, and black. His closed eyes are dark and crispy. His mouth and left cheek are burned, and you can see bits of his teeth and tongue as he struggles to breathe with a dry throat. He sounds like someone who ate a cactus or a really spicy chili pepper. His lips are burned and stuck to his teeth. When the camera zooms in even closer, you can see that parts of his forehead are severely burnt, almost reaching his skull. Around 40 seconds into the video, you can see bone. At that point, the scene changes and skips ahead. The previous sequence might consist of 2 separate clips that have been edited together. In the next scene, we see a man with a fully burned skull who is still alive. He appears and sounds frail and weak. Instead of loud moans, he seems to be taking deep breaths. In this scene, his head is completely burned and has a round shape with a dark reddish color. He has no hair, and his face shows his left eyeball moving slightly in its socket. The fire has consumed his lips and cheeks. The man's face shows white bones as his cheeks are gone. Instead, you can see his white cheekbones and teeth. The burnt flesh is covered in dark red layers of blood. Even at this moment, the person with the lighter continues to try and set fire to the victim's skull. Inside his head, his eyeballs wiggle, which is quite scary to witness. It's doubtful that he can see anything, but his body still functions normally. The person with the lighter places the flame just below the victim's chin, causing his face to catch fire once again. In the scene, they taunt and insult him while a flame burns for a few seconds. Surprisingly, the victim remains unaffected, not even flinching. He stays still, making dry moans inside his head as he kneels. It's disturbing because he seems completely alive during the whole ordeal. The video then ends. Suddenly, social media users reacted to the murder of Ghost Rider by the CJNG with a mix of shock, disgust, curiosity, and even dark humor. Some users expressed sympathy for Ghost Rider, acknowledging the brutal nature of his death and questioning the justice of such violence. Others believed that Ghost Rider deserved his fate based on rumors of his own wicked acts. Some users compared the video to other violent and disturbing content they had seen before. In contrast, others questioned the legality and ethics of watching such videos. There were also discussions about desensitization to violence and the motivations behind watching these videos. The story's authenticity and the identity of Ghost Rider were questioned, with some suggesting that there was no concrete evidence to support the claims made about him. Overall, the reactions are varied, with some expressing horror and others displaying a morbid fascination with the dark side of the world. However, this video and the brutal manner of Ghost Rider's death has an even darker undertone that many people who watched or know about the video cannot even fathom, and that's the fact that this gruesome murder is just another episode in the long-standing rivalry between the United Cartels and CJNG. Don't believe me? Well, have a look for yourself and tell me what you think then. La Resistencia versus CJNG. Carteles Unidos, or United Cartels, also known as La Resistencia, is a group formed in Michoacan, Mexico, to fight against other cartels. The United Cartels was originally made up of the cartel Tepalcatepec and Los Viagras, but it has since grown to include other groups. The United Cartel's main goal is to maintain control over the illicit activities in the Tierra Caliente district of Michoacan. The groups that have operated under the name United Cartels have changed a lot over time. In 2010, Ignacio Coronel Villarreal, leader of the Sinaloa Cartel, united various factions, including the Sinaloa Cartel, Gulf Cartel, Knights Templar, Milenio Cartel, and operatives of the Familia Michoacana to combat the Zetas. These groups were able to push the Zetas out of Jalisco and Michoacan, but they eventually broke apart and started fighting each other again. In 2019, the most recent version of United Cartels was created to resist the increasing presence of the CJNG in Michoacan, which became more intense. The Cartel de Jalisco Nueva Generación, CJNG, is a notorious international criminal group that ranks among the world's most dangerous organizations. Since its formation in 2009, when it splintered from the Millennial Cartel, the CJNG has experienced exponential growth owing to its ruthless violence, strategic recruitment methods, and influence in economically disadvantaged regions and small villages. Under the leadership of Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, also known as El Mencho, the CJNG operates with a strict command and control structure, employing extensive money laundering techniques and controlling crucial ports in Mexico. Currently, the cartel maintains a presence in at least 22 of the country's 32 states. The CJNG has established key distribution centers in major U.S. cities such as Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, Houston, and Atlanta. Moreover, it has been expanding its influence along the southwest border, extending its operations into numerous smaller towns and cities across the United States. This relentless expansion has made the CJNG a significant priority for U.S. law enforcement agencies. The criminal activities of the CJNG encompass a wide range of illicit enterprises, including drug trafficking and the theft of crude oil. Their primary focus revolves around the distribution of cocaine and methamphetamine, solidifying their position as one of the most powerful drug cartels in Mexico, second only to the Sinaloa Cartel. The CJNG finds itself embroiled in multiple conflicts, fighting rival cartels for territorial control. Notable among these confrontations is the ongoing battle with the La Nova Plaza cartel for dominance in Guadalajara, Jalisco. However, perhaps the most brutal and consequential war in all of Mexico currently is by the CJNG against the United Cartels for control of Aguilera, Michoacan, and the surrounding territories. The Ghost Rider is a high-profile victim of this war. The CJNG's rapid rise to power is attributed to their expansion and consolidation of smuggling routes previously controlled by the Millennial Cartel and the defeat of La Resistencia, another splinter group. In a mere 6 months, the CJNG managed to extend its operational network from coast to coast, becoming one of Mexico's most operationally capable criminal organizations by 2012. In addition to armed conflicts and petroleum theft, the CJNG is reported to operate over 100 methamphetamine labs throughout Mexico. These labs, combined with their cocaine trafficking operations, generate staggering profits. It is estimated that CJNG's cocaine and crystal meth sales could amount to $8.1 billion and $4.6 billion per year, respectively, based on average street values. The CJNG's notoriety is further amplified by its militarized approach to the drug wars. They possess a formidable arsenal, including high-caliber assault rifles, sniper rifles, grenades, RPGs, explosive drones, light machine guns, and armored vehicles. What sets them apart is their ability to manufacture their own weapons, ammunition, and customized firearms, such as assault rifles equipped with grenade launchers. The CJNG's operatives also receive elite-level guerrilla warfare training, often provided by mercenaries from Guatemala, Colombia, and some allegedly from Israeli commando units. The CJNG's influence and operational capacity have grown exponentially, culminating in its ascent to become Mexico's second most powerful cartel within less than a decade since its inception. From 2018 to 2020, they were responsible for 298 reported acts of gang violence, surpassing any other cartel during that period. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, U.S. counter-drug officials have identified the CJNG as the most significant drug threat. At the same time, Mexico's former security commissioner has labeled them as the country's most urgent national security concern. They have 5 elite groups of skilled fighters made up of former military personnel, police officers, and mercenaries. These elite groups are called in for support when regular CJNG soldiers struggle in a conflict, but their notoriety extends beyond their military capabilities. The CJNG is also infamous for its brutal acts of violence against its rivals. As you may have already known from the case of the Ghost Rider, their methods of murder and torture are horrifying, including decapitation, skinning, burning people alive, severing limbs, and even cases of cannibalism. They often record and upload videos of gruesome tortures encounters and murders online, intending to instill fear in the hearts of their enemies, especially the United Cartels. The war between the CJNG and the United Cartels began fully when the CJNG openly declared war against the Abuelo Cartel, a local self-defense group located in the southwestern Tepalcatepec. In a 45-second video, an armed group claiming allegiance to El Mencho, the leader of the CJNG, stated their intention to target the Abuelo Cartel. The video features 18 heavily armed men dressed in military-style clothing, including assault rifles and a .50 caliber Barrett rifle. Speaking on behalf of El Mencho, one individual in the video addresses the residents of Tepalcatepec and assures them that their actions are not directed against the population. They state they will fight against El Abuelo and anyone supporting him with weapons. The motives behind the CJNG's push to control Tepalcatepec are likely multifaceted. The town is strategically located along a drug trafficking route, making it valuable for the CJNG's criminal interests. Additionally, Michoacan is known for its lucrative avocado business, providing further opportunities for organized crime groups to extort and demand protection payments. Weeks after the public threat was made, this conflict reached a violent climax in August 2019, when gunmen belonging to CJNG carried out an attack in the precinct of Tepalcatepec, Michoacan, resulting in 9 deaths and 11 injuries. The attackers, armed with Barrett 50mm rifles and traveling in trucks, encountered resistance from municipal police, former self-defense groups, and local residents. Violent clashes ensued in several communities, causing the closure of businesses and schools. The attacks included armed confrontations, vehicle impacts, and a highway blockade. Authorities reported that the assailants targeted Juan Jose Farias Alvarez, known as El Abuelo, a former leader of self-defense groups in the region and alleged leader of the Abuelo Cartel. It was reported in May 2020 that Farias Alvarez called on vigilante groups in 4 Michoacan precincts to unite and fight against the CJNG. Recognizing the importance of teamwork in this battle, the Abuelo Cartel joined forces with another rival of the CJNG, Los Viagras. Los Viagras is also a group focused on self-defense before evolving into a notorious criminal organization. They are involved in various illegal activities, including carrying out paid murders, extorting money from lime farmers, and trafficking marijuana and other synthetic drugs. Several cartels, including White Trojans, Knights Templar, Familia Michoacana, Los Viagras, and Cartel Abuelo, have joined forces under the name United Cartels to confront the CJNG. In September 2020, United Cartels operatives carried out a significant operation in the Bonifacio Moreno, located in the precinct of Aguililla in Michoacan, to send a powerful message to the leader of the CJNG. The operatives drove a military tank through the town. They recorded the act as a warning, indicating the strength of their allied force. Los Viagras members were also spotted digging ditches in the vicinity of Tepalcatepec approximately 60 days later. Their objective was to impede the passage of CJNG vehicles into those localities. CJNG clapped back by showcasing its power in a video that circulated on social media. They paraded through the streets of Aguililla, Michoacan, with 2 modified trucks resembling homemade tanks. These vehicles, known as monsters, were seized from the Los Viagras cartel. Armed CJNG members stood on one of the trucks, openly displaying their faces and wielding high-powered rifles and bulletproof vests. The CJNG boasted about their victory and referred to themselves as pure people from Mencho, a reference to the CJNG leader. This display of firepower occurred in broad daylight, near a public square in the El Aguaje community of Aguililla. If anything, the later death of the Ghost Rider made it clear that this firepower display was only the beginning, as conflicts between the unified cartels and the CJNG became even more intense towards the end of 2020. In early December, the CJNG violently attacked a safe house belonging to the unified cartels. The clashes began around 5 p.m. on a Wednesday when a CJNG cell attacked a safe house believed to be housing one of the United Cartel leaders. 5 suspected people were killed and 7 were taken hostage. This event marked a significant turning point as the armed conflicts between the factions spread to another 3 towns, Tinguindin, Tacumbo, and Cotija de la Paz. In Los Reyes, there were multiple shootings involving operatives fighting from 40 trucks. The State Public Security Secretariat confirmed the death toll of 6 people and conducted an operation in response to the confrontation. Law enforcement managed to arrest 2 individuals and seize 19 firearms, 30 vehicles, ammunition, and ballistic vests, including 4 with homemade armor. Amidst the tension, a message allegedly from the United Cartels to the CJNG circulated, stating, "Here in Los Reyes, you do not enter Mencho. Tell your people to pick up their narco tanks. They left them full." The escalating tensions forced the displacement of approximately 500 people in small towns in Aguililla and Buenavista precincts. In this ongoing conflict between the 2 organizations, the trade of synthetic drugs played a major role. The United Cartels has a strong interest in this trade, which has led to constant tension. In March 2021, Adalberto Fructuoso Comparan Rodriguez, a former mayor of Aguililla, was apprehended for aiding a significant multi-million-dollar transaction on behalf of the United Cartels. This transaction entailed the secret transportation of 500 kilograms of methamphetamine concealed within tiles and paint. The drugs were planned to be delivered to South Florida via trucks. Soon after this arrest, it was brought to light that individuals associated with the CJNG, recognized for their involvement in creating synthetic drugs such as methamphetamine, launched an attack on Aguililla. It was after this attack that Farias Alvarez El Abuelo called for vigilantes in 4 precincts in Michoacán to ally and resist an invasion from the CJNG. Farias Alvarez has deep roots in Michoacán's criminal underworld, with a history dating back to the 1990s. He previously led a self-defense group that fought against the Knights Templar. Both law enforcement agencies and eyewitnesses recognize his role as a commander within the Milenio Cartel. Government officials have accused him of using his influence to protect the organization without facing consequences. Despite being arrested multiple times, El Abuelo has consistently managed to avoid lengthy periods of confinement. In 2009, he was taken into custody for charges related to weapons and drug offenses. It was alleged that he was in charge of drug trafficking operations in various areas, such as Aguililla, Sahuayo, Jiquilpan, and Tepalcatepec. Furthermore, he was suspected of killing individuals associated with the Zetas and Familia Michoacana. Despite receiving a 3-year sentence, he had already served the required time while being detained, and his conviction was ultimately overturned after an appeal. In May 2018, Farias Alvarez was arrested again. This time, he was charged with crimes related to public health and possessing weapons that were supposed to be used exclusively by the army. People in the area were upset about his arrest and protested by blocking roads, demanding his release. Surprisingly, a few days later, he was released. What is even more interesting is that Farias Alvarez had previously supported the CJNG when they first entered Michoacán. However, their alliance fell apart when the CJNG violently attacked the Abuelo cartel in 2019. The leader of the CJNG, El Mencho, personally threatened Farias Alvarez, destroying any sense of camaraderie between them. Despite the conflict with the CJNG, Farias Alvarez has influential connections. His brother, El Paisa, was the mayor of Tepalcatepec and played a crucial role in establishing several vigilante groups. Generally, the United Cartels has a strong presence in Michoacán, particularly in the precinct of Tepalcatepec. This area is strategically located along an important route for drug trafficking. It connects Acapulco, a town on the Pacific coast, and a port in Michoacán. These places play a crucial role in importing precursor substances and drugs, which then travel north, reaching Guadalajara and eventually the United States. The United Cartel's main goal is to protect its involvement in illegal activities in the Tierra Caliente region and keep out the CJNG turf wars. The situation in Michoacán's southwestern precinct of Aguililla remains volatile and dangerous due to the constant conflict between the United Cartels and the CJNG. The use of military-grade vehicles and weapons, along with the involvement of multiple precincts, signifies the scale and seriousness of this violent dispute. As these groups continue to fight for dominance, the lives and safety of the residents are constantly at risk, and the region's stability is profoundly compromised. On September 7, 2020, members of the United Cartels announced through social media the alleged murder of a man and a woman believed to be hitmen for the CJNG. The victims' bodies were left on the streets of the community known as Bonifacio Moreno or El Aguaje. The group shared photos on social media showing the bodies of a young man and a young woman, both wearing vests with the initials CJNG. The images also featured other armed individuals, including one holding a powerful 50mm Barrett rifle. A woman expressed her grief on social media, identifying the deceased woman as her high school friend, nicknamed La Scythe. The victim was described as a mother of at least 2 young children. In February 2021, the CJNG's attempt to enter the precinct of Tepalcatepec, Michoacán, was met with resistance. The incident occurred on a Sunday morning when a convoy of CJNG vehicles was sighted in La Estanzuela, Voladeros, and La Bocanda. In response, United Cartels engaged in a firefight with the CJNG. Gunmen, aiming to prevent them from taking control of the towns. Law enforcement agencies, including the National Guard, Mexican Army, state police, and a helicopter, arrived at the scene to intervene in the confrontation. After the shooting subsided, government officials confiscated 3 vehicles, rifles, and tactical equipment. It was reported that 3 CJNG members were killed during the clash. There was no official statement regarding these events, and the precise number of seized items remains unknown. It is worth noting that just the day before, another CJNG attack occurred in the town of El Aguaje, Aguililla precinct. In that incident, United Cartels gunmen successfully neutralized a Ford Raptor truck and a large narco truck. Few weeks after the CJNG's failed attempt to invade Tepalcatepec, the violent turf war between them continues to escalate in Aguililla, Michoacan. Gunfire erupted once again as clashes between the rival cartels intensified. Social media videos captured the sound of gunfire in the main town of Aguililla within the Tierra Caliente precinct. Reports suggest that as many as 27 members of the United Cartels may have been killed by the CJNG. The exact number of casualties from these confrontations remains unconfirmed, as authorities have not officially acknowledged the incidents. A parish priest named Gilberto Vergara reported in a video message that gunshots were constant in the town. Aguililla has become isolated due to blockades set up by both cartels and residents' efforts to protect against criminal incursions by digging trenches across roads. Vergara stated that the CJNG is patrolling the streets and has recruited outsiders to form a human shield, preventing the army from carrying out operations. The priest accused the military of inaction and claimed that the state government was downplaying the violence. He noted that residents are afraid to leave their homes due to the risk of getting caught in the crossfire or becoming targets themselves. In this intense rivalry, members of the United Cartels also documented their display of military tanks as they paraded through El Aguaje. Additionally, reports suggest that they left the lifeless bodies of CJNG operatives across the streets of this town. Nevertheless, the CJNG seems to have made inroads into the area since then. In February 2021, members of the United Cartels resorted to opening fire on CJNG operatives to prevent them from gaining control over the towns of La Bocanda, located just west of El Aguaje, as well as La Estanzuela in the northern region of Michoacán. The confrontations between these primary rivals have also extended to the western precincts of Chiniquila, Apatzingan, and Buenavista. The United Cartel's influence and presence are not confined solely to southwestern Michoacán. It extends to numerous precincts across the northwestern part of the state, including Cotija de la Paz, Tocumbo, Tinguindín, Los Reyes, and Tangancicuaro. This ongoing rivalry has been responsible for most of the violence witnessed in the region throughout 2020 and 2021. Reports suggest that when both groups are not committing gruesome acts like killing the Ghost Rider, they actively seek access to drones for surveillance purposes and launch explosive attacks as part of an ongoing arms race. This was evident in a recent drone attack that injured 2 police officers in Michoacán. The attack, conducted using drones, targeted a local police headquarters, although the responsible criminal group remains unclear. A source from the CJNG denied involvement and accused rival groups of using drones to attract police attention. This incident marks the first time a weaponized drone has caused injuries in Mexico. The attack occurred near Aguililla, an entryway to the Tierra Caliente region, known for opium cultivation and hotly disputed by organized crime groups seeking control over drug trafficking routes and extortion schemes. The CJNG has been trying to establish dominance in the area, particularly as it is believed to be the birthplace of the alleged CJNG leader, El Mencho. While the Mexican defense minister downplayed the impact of the drone attacks, stating that the drones cannot carry significant quantities of explosives, experts argue that the government may be downplaying the significance of these attacks. An arms race is underway between the CJNG and rival groups in the Tierra Caliente, with both sides seeking to acquire drones for surveillance and as remote-controlled weapons. This bitter rivalry has also manifested itself in a war of words. Both factions have repeatedly released threatening videos aimed at intimidating one another. In one 14-minute video, a spokesperson claiming to represent El Mencho issues a warning to criminal groups in Michoacán. The video shows armed individuals surrounded by vehicles in a mountainous area, standing in front of a large, white blanket with the shape of Michoacán in black, the initials of the CJNG in red, and a message from Mr. Mencho. A hooded man delivers the message, addressing rival groups and accusing them of using women and children for demonstrations and hiding from authorities. The speaker identifies himself as a drug trafficker who chose not to join Los Zetas when they invited him, claiming to support the citizens of Michoacán. He accuses the rival group, which he refers to as the United Cartels, of using citizens and trampling their rights. The speaker threatens to win the war against them and calls on the people of Michoacán to investigate areas where these rival groups operate, highlighting the extortion, kidnapping, and violence associated with them. The video concludes with a promise to support the citizens of Michoacán and a personal threat to one of the rival leaders. While the CJNG boasts superior financing, political connections, weaponry, and manpower, the United Cartels has thus far managed to prevent its rival from establishing a firm foothold in the state. They possess a crucial advantage in the form of invaluable insider knowledge. They are well versed in the intricate details of enemy operatives, escape routes, and safe houses, which gives them a strategic edge over their adversaries. Moreover, the United Cartels have garnered the loyalty of residents. This vital asset facilitates gathering intelligence and poses a significant obstacle to the CJNG's potential takeover. Although ordinary citizens do not want to accept the CJNG's presence in their communities, the battle shows no signs of abating soon. Both sides remain steadfast, determined not to retreat, prolonging the conflict and heightening the likelihood of further bloodshed. As the conflict continues, the fate of the United Cartels is uncertain. In the past, they have united against rival groups like the Zetas to protect Michoacan's illegal activities. But if the current variant of this cartel succeeds in pushing out the CJNG from the state, history might repeat itself. The United Front could break apart into different factions once more. The fight for power in Michoacan significantly affects the region's security and stability. The CJNG's goal of expanding its influence threatens the fragile balance, as its presence could increase violence, drug trafficking, and corruption. On the other hand, the rival cartel's resistance is a defense against these destabilizing factors, aiming to preserve some level of order in the state. This conflict has far-reaching consequences that go beyond Michoacan and affect all of Mexico, as well as neighboring countries. Gaining control over the valuable drug trafficking routes and profitable criminal operations in this region is a highly sought-after achievement for any group. It brings enormous power and influence, allowing the winner to expand their operations and strengthen their position as the dominant force in the criminal underworld. Outside the all-out wars and war of words, these two cartels sometimes target important members of their rival. In one brutal showdown, the United Cartel dealt a severe blow to the CJNG, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. The attack occurred in February 2020, along the border separating the northern states of Michoacan and Jalisco, marking a significant escalation in the ongoing territorial and drug trafficking disputes between the rival gangs. Disturbing footage circulating on social media depicts a group of thugs assaulting a man identified as a CJNG lieutenant known as El Venado, or the Deer, in Michoacan. The attackers mercilessly smash his face against a truck, then proceed to kick and punch him relentlessly while he lies defenseless on the ground. The violence escalates further as the United Cartel systematically destroys CJNG military vehicles equipped with advanced technology and military-style armor. Numerous reports suggest that the victim, El Venado, was a key member of the CJNG. Some even claim that Miguel Fernandez, another high-ranking CJNG member, was also killed in the attack. The clash between these cartels has resulted in casualties and triggered a wave of fear and displacement among the local population. In what can be viewed as a response to these high-profile assaults, the CJNG retaliated with the gruesome murder of Ghost Rider, a prominent member of the United Cartels. However, I think it is important you know that even though Ghost Rider was the victim in this video, he is not by any means innocent. In fact, rumors state he used to torture many people in a similar manner when he was in charge of the United Cartels. He was allegedly involved in the killing of a father and son in a video called No Mercy in Mexico. He also reportedly flayed a teenage gang member and was planning to kidnap and rape the daughter of an opposing cartel member to death and film it. Video of his death is one of the most horrifying cartel videos on the internet, comparable to the infamous video involving a police officer and his son, known as Funky Town. I strongly advise against searching for these videos. Some things are just not worth seeing. Trust me, this is one of the worst cartel videos online. There's other videos like this one that you can watch to expand your knowledge on the cartel underworld though. Click a card on your screen and I'll see you there.